Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Domino and I like making things from scratch and doing things myself. Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys 42 of my favorite knit patterns, and all of these can be last minute Christmas gifts. Well, I guess it depends on your definition of last minute. It really ranges from a couple hours to a couple days to make, so this can fit anyone's idea of last minute. Full disclaimer. A lot of these patterns are drops patterns. They're free and I love their patterns. It's not even just because they're free. Let's start with wearable gifts. Hats really have a broad range of how long they take, but I have included a couple hats that use a chunkier yarn, so it will be a little bit quicker. So the Urban Beat hat is a women's hat. It is a free pattern from Drops Design. It uses yarn group E, which is super bulky, or you can hold two C groups together, which is a worsted weight. It is a one size fits all, and it uses Drops Air as the recommended yarn. Now, of course, you can use whatever yarn you want. It uses a size 7mm double pointed needles and a 7mm circular needles. And the gauge is 12 stitches in width and 16 rows vertically in stockinette stitch. Now, of course, keep in mind, anytime you're doing a gauge, the needle size is just recommended, and if you can't get that gauge with that needle size, then you're going to have to use a different needle. The next hat on the list is the Icebreaker hat, which is a men's hat, and it is actually very similar to the Urban Beat hat. It is also a rib stitch hat. Looks like it's probably a 2x2 rib stitch. It's also a free pattern from Drops. It's also a fairly large size yarn. It's a group C yarn, which is a worsted weight yarn. And it does come in different sizes. It comes in a small medium or a large extra large. The materials that it recommends are Drops Nepal, double pointed needle size 5mm, and circular needle size 5mm with a length of 40 centimeters or 16 inches. And the gauge is 17 stitches in width and 22 rows in height with a stockinette stitch. This would be a simple and a pretty quick hat. You could probably do this in one day if you really dedicated a lot of time to it, or maybe 2 days, depending on how fast you knit. I'm not going to promise anything. Some people knit slower than others, but this hat and the Urban Beat hat are probably going to be two of your quickest hats on the list. So if you really need to get a gift, first of all, they're really nice and really cute, and they're going to be really soft and warm. They're also very quick. Okay, now you're going to see in this video, but I am a sucker for color work. This hat, since it's color work and also a smaller yarn size, is going to take a little bit longer than some of the other hats, but I just love it. It's the Colorado hat. It's a men's hat. The color work doesn't look like it would be all that hard. It's only 2 colors. It's not like you're gonna have to be dealing with many colors at once, which I find to be difficult. It's a free pattern. It's also a drops pattern. It uses a group 4. It uses a group B yarn, and that would be equivalent to a DK weight. It is a one size fits all, and it recommends the Drops Charisma Superwash with double pointed needles and circular needles, size 3.5mm and 2.5mm for the rib. The gauge is 22 stitches by 30 rows in stockinette. I just really love the pattern. The next hat is a unisex hat. I found it on Etsy this time. It also has a folded edge with a rib stitch, and then the rest is stockinette, which will be a little bit shorter than the rib stitch hat all the way around. So if you're really in a pinch, this would be a good one. The pattern costs $3.26. This hat is made by Nicolene Sophie Knit. I hope I pronounced that right. It uses a group C or a worsted weight yarn. It is a one size fits all. It has 2 options, one with mohair and one without. The recommended yarn is Drops Nepal. It recommends circular needles 5mm for the ribbing, circular needles 6mm for stockinette stitch, and double pointed needles or magic loop 6mm needles. And then the gauge is 17 stitches by 22 rows on a 6mm needle in stockinette stitch. Since this is a very classic and simple hat, this probably is a good choice for a lot of people, and it's also a pretty quick knit. Moving on, so as I mentioned, I love color work, and I also found this hat on Etsy. It looks to me like you're probably only going to be doing at most 3 colors in one row. The pattern costs $5.97. Is by Linen Knits Designs. I'm really sorry if I mispronounced that. It is a Aran weight yarn, and it's a one size fits all hat. It suggests 4mm circular needles and 4mm double pointed needles, stitch markers, and a tapestry needle. It doesn't give a gauge in the instructions on Etsy, but I'm sure it'll give it in the pattern. I just think it's so adorable. Okay, next up, this one's kind of silly, is a hat for our furry friends. It is a cat hat with cat ears for cats, and it comes down on the sides to the tie strap, which ties under the chin, and I think that's really great because it is more adjustable, so you don't have to make it exactly to your cat's head circumference, which, let me tell you, it's not always as easy to measure a cat's head as one might think. It is another pattern from Etsy. It costs $3.32 and is by Ugly Babies with an I. It is an Aran weight and a lace weight held together. It's a one size pattern, and it recommends 5mm straight knitting needles, a tapestry needle, and scissors. It doesn't give a gauge. I will be making this for my cat. I will. And also, a note that I made to myself is that there is also an option for a matching human hat with your cat, which I think is so cute. Now, of course, we can't leave out our dog friends. So I found a dog hat with a pom-pom, and I like that it has kind of like a folded edge. Like a lot of the hats that we've already talked about have the folded bottom. It kind of mimics that. It looks like it's mostly done in the rib stitch, and then of course it has the pom-pom on top, which I imagine is optional. The pattern is from Etsy. It costs $4.20. It's by Little Pretty Boutique without the E. It didn't give a yarn group as far as I saw. It is designed for a dog with a 12-inch head circumference, but the pattern also explains how to customize the size for a perfect fit for every dog. The materials are knitting needles, yarn, a fur pom-pom, or yarn to make your own, and tapestry needles. It doesn't give a yarn group or a yarn gauge, but of course I imagine it will be in the pattern. So funny. So the next hat is called the Basset hat. I feel like it would be a really good unisex hat. It looks very warm too because it will keep your ears and the sides of your face warm. I found it on Etsy. It costs $7.33. It is by Creatia Studio. It uses a DK or worsted weight yarn. It comes in 3 sizes. It recommends using 2 strands together, 1 strand of Carpe Diem from Lang Yarns, and 2 strands of Kid Silk from Drops. And then there's a second option. And then it recommends circular needles size 5mm and circular needles size 3mm, and a button for the chin strap, and it gives you a size for that. And then the gauge is 17 stitches. If it's really cold, this would be a great hat. I don't know about you guys, but where I'm from, it gets to be really cold. My birthday was -8 degrees last year, and I definitely could have used something like this. That is all I have for the hats. It's a pretty good variety, some not even for this species. Some of them can be done faster than others. The color work ones probably will take a little bit slower, as well as the Basset hat because it is a smaller yarn and it's a larger hat. But I don't think it will take too long. I think it could be done in a week, if not shorter, depending on how fast you knit. Next up, let's go over some socks. I know that socks might not seem like a good gift, but some of these are so cute and they're handmade, so it means more than like a pair of socks you would buy at just a regular store, you know? So the first pair that I found is a striped pair of socks. It looks like the stripes are 2 rows at a time. There is a little bit of ribbing on the top, which I think is always nice, and it's also pretty short, so it will probably work up pretty quickly. And they're very customizable because, as you can see, you can do pretty much any color you want with them. The pink and the black and white is a little bit more bold, and I really like the pair in front, which is the green and the brown and the tan. The pattern costs $5. The designer is Long Beach Designs. It is a worsted or Aran weight yarn, and it says that the sizes are for adults and teens, unisex. It uses size 4.5mm and 3.75mm needles, and it doesn't give a gauge. that I saw. I just love that pattern. I want to use that one. I think it's just, they're so cute and they're so classic, which again, this pattern can probably be used for a lot of people since it is so classic and so simple. Probably a lot of people would like them. Okay, now this one is a really fun one. I've been wanting to make these for so long. They're called Rad Radish socks. They're unisex. It looks like it only has 2 colors per row. These socks probably will take quite a lot longer than some of the other socks that we're going to go over because not only are they color work, but they're also a smaller yarn. The color work doesn't take up that much of the sock though, so for a lot of it you're just going to be doing stockinette, which will go a little bit faster. I also found them on Etsy. The pattern costs $6.52. The designer is Stone Knits. It comes in a size 17 to 19 centimeters. I'm a little bit confused about the sizing. I'm sure it'll explain it more in the pattern, but it says that the length of the foot can easily be adjusted, so I imagine that you can kind of customize it to fit anyone. The materials that it recommends are Swearingen Sweet Sparrow yarns. It recommends a 2.25 millimeter needle, 80 centimeter circular needle for magic loop, or double pointed needles. They give you a lot of options for the needles you could use. The gauge is 36 stitches by 48 rounds. I love this pattern. I want to make it so bad. Okay, the next pattern doesn't even have a name. It's called Extra 0-713. It's a men's sock. It looks like a 1x1 ribbing on top. Again, it's not too long of a sock, so it can be done very quickly. If you're really in a pinch and you want to get something done quickly, this is the sock I would choose. It's a fruit pattern. It's from Drops. It uses a yarn group E, which is super bulky. It comes in sizes 2, 4, 5, 6.5, 7.5, 9, 9.5, 10, or 11, 13. So it comes in a good amount of sizes, and it also gives you foot length measurements. It uses Drop Snow and double pointed needles size 8 millimeters, and the gauge is 11 stitches by 15 rows in stockinette, which will tell you that it is going to knit up very quickly. It also looks super cozy. Okay, now for the more festive side of socks, the Frosty Feet, which is a children and a women's sock. It has color work and it is a longer sock. This is another sock that I wouldn't recommend doing if you're really in a bind, because it's going to take longer, not only because the color work, but also because it's a little bit longer, and it is a smaller yarn size than some of the other socks that we've looked at. I just think that the snowmen are so cute. I'm obsessed with this pattern. It's also a Drops pattern, a free pattern. It uses a yarn group B or a DK weight. It comes in a lot of sizes. 13. It comes in a lot of sizes. It comes in a lot of sizes. Just trust me. It uses Drops Charisma, and it uses double pointed needle size 3.5 millimeters and 3 millimeters for the ribbing. It is a 22 stitch by 30 rows in stockinette gauge. I just love the snowmen. I don't know what it is. They're so cute. Next up, we have another Christmas sock pattern. It's called the Cheerful Steps, which is another children's and women's sock pattern. It looks like they're almost the same length, and they have a similar design to them. It looks like a 2x2 rib on top. This one might be slightly easier as far as color work goes because it only uses 2 colors. So that is helpful. It looks like the colors will switch a little bit more often though, which might take a little bit more time. It's a free pattern, also from Drops, of course. It uses a yarn group B, which is a DK weight yarn. Comes in the same sizes. It is also Drops Charisma. Double pointed needles 3.5 millimeters and 3 millimeters for the rib. The gauge is 23 stitches by 32 rows, and it's just so cute. This one is also going to take probably a little bit longer, so I wouldn't wait for the last minute to do this one either. Maybe if you have enough time, you could do the 2 Christmas socks together. That would be really cute. Now, as I said, I really am a sucker for color work, and I just could not resist these socks. They're so adorable to me. They are a unisex sock. They're called the Lighthouse sock. The color work might be a little bit more involved, although it doesn't look like you're really going to be using more than 2 colors for the vast majority of the color work, so it probably won't be too hard. The floats might be a little bit more to manage this pattern, but it's good to get the practice, isn't it? The pattern costs $5. They are from teasfleece.com. It uses a worsted weight yarn. It comes in adult, women, and men's sizes, and it uses Peace Fleece worsted. It recommends a 3.5 millimeter needle, straight and double pointed for the women's size, and a 3.75 millimeter needle, straight and double pointed for the men's size. The gauge is 5.5 stitches per inch in the women's size and stockinette stitch on size 4 needles, and 5 stitches per inch for men's on size 5 needles. Love it. I love the sock. The Lighthouse socks, probably not going to be your last minute sock, but I had to throw it in there because they're just so cute. That is all of the socks that I have for you guys. Hopefully you saw some that you like. Moving on to mittens and gloves. Now this might just be me, but I really don't enjoy doing gloves as much as oh my god. I just realized that my microphone has been dead this whole time, but I will not be re-recording that. So anyway, let's continue with my microphone. I don't know if it's just me, but I find mittens to be a lot more tolerable to knit because you don't have to knit 10 fingers individually. They are also quicker for that same reason. So I have a lot more mittens on this list. The first pair of mittens I have on here are called the Christmas Magic Mittens. They're women's mittens. Now this pattern I've actually made before. I made it for my mom last year and it was one of the first colorwork patterns that I ever did. If you are looking for a quick mitten and you want to add a little bit of pizzazz to it, this is a good colorwork pattern and a quick colorwork pattern. Only 2 colors. This is the pattern that taught me how to use floats with the appropriate tension. So this is a good pattern to learn colorwork on. It is a very simple pattern and it is very quick. It's a free pattern. There are drops pattern, of course. It uses a yarn group C, which is a worsted weight yarn, and it comes in one size. The recommended yarn is Drops Air. It recommends double pointed needles size 4 millimeters and size 3.5 millimeters for the rib. It has a 19 stitch by 25 rows gauge. I love this mitten pattern. It's so cute. Very festive too. The next pattern, the only pair of gloves I have on this list, is the Fire Crystal Gloves, which is a women's gloves pattern. It has a little ripple on the end, which I think is so cute. It adds such a feminine little touch. And it has a pretty long ribbing, which will add a little bit of time. And then it has color work. It looks like it uses 3 colors, but for 3 reasons. It's going to take a little bit longer than some of the other patterns that we have because it has a very long rib, it has color work, and it's also a glove pattern, so you have to individually do each finger. Still really cute though. It's a free pattern. It's from Drops, of course. It's a DK weight yarn. It's a one size fits all pattern. The recommended yarn is Drops Charisma Superwash and double pointed needles size 3 millimeters and size 2.5 millimeters. The gauge is 23 stitches by 32 rows in stockinette. I think it's really pretty, but it probably won't be as fast as some of the other mittens on this list. Okay, the next one is kind of silly, but I think it's so adorable. So if you have a couple in your life that is really close and they always hold hands, this will be a good gift for them. It's called the Love Glove, which honestly creeps me out a little bit, but that's just me. This pattern looks like it wouldn't take too long to make. There is a little bit of color work, but it's only a couple rows. It's only 2 colors. It has a little bit of ribbing, not too much, and it is a very large yarn size. It's also very unique, and I don't think that a lot of people have seen something like this. It's a free pattern, Drops pattern. It uses a yarn group E, which is super bulky. It comes in sizes small and medium large, and then it recommends Drops Snow, and it recommends double pointed needles size 7 millimeters and double pointed needles size 6 millimeters for the rib. And it also has a crochet hook size 10 millimeters for the crochet ribbon. It is a 12 stitch by 16 rows in stockinette gauge, or 11 stitches by 15 rows in stockinette for the medium large size. Okay, our next mitten pattern is a men's mitten pattern, and this is going to be another one that will knit up very quickly. It is called the Code Seller Mittens. If you look at this pattern, it has a very short rib and then is mostly worked in one color in stockinette, and it's a very large yarn. This is a really great last minute gift. It's also going to be very warm since it is a large yarn. The Code Seller Mittens are going to be a very classic pattern, so I think it will appeal to a lot of people, and also you can do it really quickly. It is a free pattern. It's another Drops pattern, yarn group E, super bulky. It comes in sizes small, medium, or a large, extra large, and it recommends Drops Snow, 7 millimeter double pointed needles and 6 millimeter double pointed needles, or magic loop, and then you only need circular needles of 80 centimeters. The gauge is 12 stitches in width and 15 rows vertically in stockinette. on 7mm needles. Our next pair of mittens is actually going to be a felted pair of mittens, which I've never done before. They are called Icy Paws. They're a women's pattern. It looks like there is a little bit of color work, but not too much. It also looks like it's only on one section of the mitten rather than going all the way around, so it might be a little bit easier. Rather than having to catch floats, you can kind of just confine it to one spot. And it also only uses 2 different colors, so that will be on the simpler side as far as color work goes. Now, since this is felted, you're going to have to make it larger than it's going to be after you felt it. So this might not be your very last minute gift. It's also a DK weight yarn with color work. So this one I wouldn't reserve for your very last minute gift, but it is a smaller knitting pattern, so not to be discounted. It's a free pattern by Drops. It uses a yarn group B, which is DK weight yarn. It comes in sizes small, medium, and large, and it gives you all of the lengths before and after felting. It uses Drops Lima as the recommended yarn, and Drops double pointed needles and circular needles, size 4.5mm, and then you need 2 small plastic bags for felting and 2 safety pins. The gauge is 20 stitches and 26 rows in stockinette, and then after felting it will be 22 stitches and 34 rows, so you're gonna have to felt your gauge swatch. Next up is a men's mitten pattern called the Swipe Away Mittens. They're cute and they're useful, especially for people who need to be on their phones often. This will come in handy because you have a transformative mitten. But again, this probably isn't going to be your very quick pattern, not only because it is a DK weight yarn, but because it has some ribbing. It looks like the mitten tops are made entirely of ribbing, which just is a little bit slower than stockinette. It is going to be shorter than a glove pattern because you don't have to fully do every single finger. I want to note that this pattern is also a women's pattern. You can look it up. It's for women as well. I think it might be a separate pattern, but like there is the same mittens for women. It's a free pattern. You guessed it, a Drops pattern. It uses a yarn group B DK weight yarn. It comes in sizes small, medium, and large, extra large. And it recommends Drops Merino Extra Fine and Drops Charisma. And then it recommends 3.5mm and 3mm needles. Also a crochet hook in 3mm size. And you need a button. You need 2 buttons for this pattern. It is a 22 stitches in width and 30 row in stockinette gauge. But I really like the transformative mitten. Okay, next up we have the Polar Charm Mittens, which is a basic women's mitten pattern. It looks like there is some ribbing, not too long, mostly worked in stockinette. Again, probably going to appeal to a lot of people because it is classic and simple. It's a free pattern. It's from Drops. It uses a group E super bulky yarn, so again, it'll be a quick knit. It comes in sizes small, medium, medium large, and large extra large. It uses Drops Melody and Drops Puma. It uses 6mm and 5mm needles. And the gauge is 13 stitches in width and 17 rows in height with stockinette. This is going to be a really good last minute gift for a lot of people. Lastly, we have the Varena fingerless mittens. I hope I didn't mispronounce that. It is a unisex pattern on Etsy. It looks like it's done entirely in a 2x2 rib. So although these mittens are smaller, since you don't have to go all the way to the top and they don't have a very long cuff, they are done in 2x2 stitch the entire time. It's also a DK weight yarn, so it's not going to be the quickest. It's kind of in between because there definitely are some other mittens on this list that are going to take longer. So this is kind of a good medium. I also think they're very versatile, and I kind of like that they're fingerless because they keep your hands warm, but you still have utility of your fingers if you need to use your phone or something like that. The pattern costs $4.25. It is made by Low-Key Bold Knits. It uses a DK weight yarn and comes in sizes small, medium, large. One is supposed to be a child's size, a women's size, and a man's size. They recommend a 2.5mm and 3mm circular needles or double pointed needles, and they recommend double Sunday by Sadness yarn. The gauge is 42 stitches by 36 rounds and a 2x2 rib stitch. And that's all I really have to say. That is all we have for mittens. Our next category is cozy and comfortable projects. So let's start off with some slipper patterns. I don't have too many slippers. Starting off with the Celtic Dancer pattern. It looks like this is going to be a cable knit pattern, so this is probably going to take a little bit longer than some of the other slipper patterns that we have, but if you have a little bit more time, they also have a folded over rib stitch edge, so that is going to be double the length, of course, of rib stitch, which is also going to take a little bit longer than a stockinette, but it's a free pattern, drops pattern. Of course. They are women's slippers. It uses yarn group C or 2A groups held together, so that ends up being a worsted weight yarn. It comes in sizes 5, 6.5, 7.5 to 9, or 9.5, 10.5. And it recommends drops Nepal and straight needles and double pointed needles 5mm and double pointed needles 4mm for the ribbing. And the gauge is 17 stitches by 22 in stockinette. Next up we have the carrot squash slippers, which is a women's pattern, and this pattern is going to be your quickest slipper pattern because it is a very large size yarn and it is mostly done in stockinette. It looks like there's some garter stitch around the toes, which is a nice little touch. Looks like a very simple, very quick pattern, and it looks very cozy. It is a free pattern. It's also a drops pattern, and it uses a yarn group E, which is a super bulky weight yarn. It comes in sizes 5, 6.5, 7.5, 9, 9.5 to 10.5, and it uses drops Snow, double pointed needle size 6mm, and circular needles 6mm, 40cm length. Its gauge is 13 stitches in width and 13 rows vertically in stockinette stitch. Okay, now the last pair of mittens we have is called the Snow Sledder Mittens. They're mittens. The last slipper pattern we have is the Snow Sledder Mittens. The Snow Sledder Slippers, they're a men's slipper. This one is going to be pretty quick because even though it's felted and you have to make it larger, it is a super bulky weight yarn. These are also a very classic looking slippers, and I think a lot of people will be happy to get them. They're also going to be a very quick knit, so this is a winner for the slippers. It's a free pattern. It is a drops pattern, uses a yarn group E, which is super bulky, and it comes in 8, 10, 10.5, 12.5 sizes, and material it recommends is drops Snow and single pointed needles size 8mm. The gauge before felting is 11 stitches in width and 15 rows in height in stockinette stitch. That is all I have for slippers. Let's move on to the hoods and small scarves section. So the first one is the Snowflake Hood, which is a women's pattern, and I don't know, I think this is also a very classic look, so it will appeal to a lot of people, and it's also going to be very quick compared to your normal scarf because not only does it not have to be as long, but it also doesn't have to be as wide the entire time. It's a free pattern. It is from surprise, surprise, drops. Uses yarn group E or super bulky yarn, or you can hold 2 C group yarns together. It comes in sizes small, medium, or a large, extra large. And it recommends drops Air and drops brush alpaca silk. Circular needle size 8mm, and the gauge is 11 stitches in width and 15 rows in height with stockinette. Next up we have the Jackie Bandana, which is another women's pattern. So cute, so classic, so stylish. I think a lot of women would be happy to receive this. I definitely want one of these. I found it on Etsy. The price is $4.08. It is made by Paula Strict. I hope I pronounced that right. Made by Paula Strict. It uses a worsted weight yarn. It comes in one size, and it recommends alpaca silk from Jarbo. Don't know how to pronounce that. I'm really sorry if I mispronounced it. And then there's some other recommended yarns. The gauge is stockinette stitch with 3mm needles, 29 stitches by 35 rows. There are some different options of yarns that you can use in different gauges. This is a good last minute gift that probably would appeal to a lot of people. That is it for the hoods and small scarves. Next up is something I wouldn't have thought of on my own, but I saw this pattern on, you guessed it, drops, and I couldn't resist. It's a hot water bottle cover. If you want to include the hot water bottle inside of the cover as a gift, you've just went above and beyond, my friend. First of all, we have the "'Tis the Season to Be Cozy." Looks like a 1x1 rib on the top, not very long, and the rest is stockinette, so it's going to be a very quick knit. It looks very soft and very cozy as well. And if you know someone loves to be warm and cozy, this is the perfect gift. It's free. It's a drops pattern. It's a group C and D held together, which is going to be a DK weight and a chunky weight held together. It says that it fits a water bottle of 32 centimeters in length and 19 centimeters in width. The materials is drops alpaca boucle and drops melody. And then it recommends circular needles, 7mm and 6mm. The gauge is 12 stitches in width and 16 rows in height with stockinette stitch. It's very nice last minute gift, and you can really give it to anyone. Very versatile because everyone likes to be cozy. The second water bottle cover that I have is the Cozy Hot water bottle cover. I found it on Etsy, and it looks like this is a 2x2 rib on top, but it is very, very large. So the 2x2 rib really, like, you don't have to do that many stitches. So that's going to go really quick, and then the rest is again just stockinette all the way down, which is going to be a quick project. It is a $3 pattern made by Stitches by Art Gaze. It's a DK weight yarn, but it's knit with 3 strands, so it'll actually be a very large yarn. It comes in a size that fits a standard hot water bottle. It says 43 centimeters in circumference and 38 centimeters long. It uses double pointed needles size 12mm. That'll tell you that it's a very large size yarn. It doesn't give a gauge, but I'm sure it will in the pattern. It gives a little note that this is a vintage pattern and materials may not be available, but you can find substitutes online. I just love that idea. I think it's so cute. That is it with our hot water bottle designs, and we are moving on into our cute and quick giftable section. This is going to be small things, small gifts. They can be stocking stuffers, or they can just be very last minute or very small things. So if you're traveling, these would be good because they're very small in size. A lot of them are, but you know, if you need to fit it into a suitcase or something, this would be a good way to go. So let's get started with the ornaments. Okay, this one isn't that small if you make all 6, but it's worth it because it's so cute. This is going to take probably a little bit longer because it is a colorwork pattern and it's kind of a small yarn size, but the colorwork only has 2 colors. It is a free pattern, a drops pattern. It uses a yarn group B, which is DK weight yarn. It uses drops Lima. You need weighting, which I think is a kind of stuffing. You need double pointed needles size 3mm and a crochet hook in a 3mm size. The gauge is 23 stitches in width and 22 in height with stockinette stitch. I think these are just so cute. I can't imagine someone not wanting these. So I think that in that sense, it also appeals to a large group of people. You can make this for a lot of people. And next up is our mini stocking ornaments, which I found on Etsy. And although this is a very small gauge, the ornament itself is very small. So it kind of matches in size, so it's not going to take you forever to make it because it's, you know, it's very small. So there is color work in some of these, but the color work looks like it's pretty simple. There's only 2 colors. I can't really tell if these, it looks like the snowflakes are actually embroidered and not actually color work, so that will make it a little bit faster as well. It is a $3.60 pattern. They're made by Warm and Knitted S. So the size will depend on what size yarn that you use. I'm pretty sure the size they used would be like a fingering or a lace weight because they're so small. It says you can use any yarn you like, circular needles or double pointed needles, but you should try to match the needle size to the yarn size that you're using. And then the gauge that they used is 34 stitches. Okay, our last ornament I also found on Etsy by the same person. Looks like the snowmen themselves are made in stockinette stitch. I imagine you need some kind of stuffing too to go inside. And then it looks like the arms are embroidered and the eyes are probably like safety eyes. I forgot what they're called. They're like little beaded eyes. And then it comes with like a little hat, a little scarf, and pom-poms. They're so cute. The scarves look like they're probably only a couple stitches in width, a garter stitch, and the hat has a little bit of ribbing and a little pom-pom on the top. These do have a little bit of detail, so they're probably not going to be your quickest ornament pattern. I don't think any of these are really that quick. The price is $3.08 for the pattern by Warm and Knitted S. It is a fine yarn group or sport weight, but it also says you can use whatever size you want. That will dictate how large the snowmen are. They are knit on straight knitting needles, and you choose the needles depending on the type of yarn that you use. The recommended one is a 2.25mm needles. It doesn't give a gauge. Ornaments, so cute. Okay, let's move on to the hair bows. This is probably going to be the quickest knit on the entire list. If you're going to see someone in a couple hours and you don't have a gift for them, this is probably going to be the one for you. I know, sometimes we leave things to the last minute. Well, this is a women's pattern though, so if it's a man, I'm sorry. The knitted hair bow accessory I found on Etsy, they are kind of fuzzy and it would be perfect to put on like a bobby pin, or like you could probably just slip a bobby pin right through it or you could hot glue it maybe to a hair clip or something. It's a $3.40 pattern made by Emma Crochet Design for You. It's a lace weight yarn. The recommended yarn is Baby Surrey Alpaca Silk Lace and a 3.5mm needle. The gauge is 24 stitches and 10 centimeters. I love this. They're so cute. You can make a couple and like make a little set of them in different colors for someone. I think this would be really cute for a young child or someone who's just very whimsical, because they are very, very just like kind of childlike and cute. The next pattern I have is the Bow Wow. I feel like I should be saying Bow Wow, but like it looks like these are made in garter stitch, and again I think this is so adorable and I would love to. I'm probably gonna make this for myself because I want to have this in my hair. It's so cute. Anyway, it's a free pattern on Ravelry by Laura Roche Martin. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm sorry if I didn't. It's a fingering weight yarn, and the needles are a 3.5mm, and the recommended yarn is French Alpaca from Elevage El Paso. It is a 19 stitch by 52 row gauge in garter stitch after blocking. Moving on, another very quick and small gift is headbands or ear warmers. So the first pattern I have is a women's pattern. Now this one does use a cable knit pattern, and it is kind of a small yarn size, so it might take a little bit longer than some of your other ones, although it is pretty small in width, so it kind of balances out in that way. It is a drops pattern. It uses a yarn group B. It comes in sizes small, medium, or medium large, and it recommends drops Charisma and straight needle size 4mm and a cable needle for the cables. The gauge is 21 stitches by 28 rows in stockinette. Yeah, I really love this. I think that it's also like a very classic and cute pattern, very feminine, and I think that probably a lot of people would like this, especially if they don't want to wear a hat but they want to keep their head warm or their ears warm. It also does come with a matching set of gloves, which I didn't include because they have cables, so it probably would take kind of a long time to do the set, but if you have the time, might as well. I mean, I'm probably going to make myself the set because I think it's adorable. Okay, the next kind of ear warmer thing I have is called the bandana headband. It's a woman's pattern. It comes to 2 points on either side and then ties at the center. This is probably a very quick and easy knit, and it's just so cute. Again, something that I could see a lot of people wearing. I found it on Etsy. The pattern costs $2.50 by Knit Geometric Style. It's a DK weight yarn, and it comes in 2 sizes. The material is a wool alpaca yarn and 4.5mm circular needles, a 3.5mm crochet hook, and the gauge is not given. I'm sure it's given in the pattern, and it's a lot faster than knitting like a scarf and probably faster than knitting some hats, so we'll save some time. The last ear warmer I have is a unisex ear warmer pattern. It is called the Reindeer Romp ear warmer. Even though this is colorwork pattern, it is a larger yarn size and it only uses 2 colors. I found it on Etsy. It is a $5 pattern by Rosie Posey Knit Co. Uses a worsted weight yarn. It comes in 1 size and it says that it fits most adults. You need a size 4mm circular needle 16-inch or double pointed needles, and then a 5mm circular needle 16 inches or double pointed needles. It gives a superwash merino wool or another worsted weight yarn recommendation. The gauge is 20 stitches and 20 rows in stockinette using color work. I think this is very adorable and quick pattern, and I would love to receive it. So I think it would also appeal to a lot of people because it's very festive and it's unisex, and again, it's a pretty quick knit. Alright, that is it for our cute and quick giftables. Now let's move on. We only have 2 more categories. Let's move on to kitchen and host gifts. So let's start off with some pot holders. Oh, I am obsessed with the drops pot holders. I know you can probably tell from this video that I love drops patterns. Again, we come back to the snowman pattern that I just thought was so cute on the socks. They have a pot holder with the same pattern, which of course I'm gonna make this Christmas. I ordered the stuff already. It's called the 3 Little Snowmen, and it looks like for the most part the color work is only 2 colors. Well, okay, it looks like this might have 3 colors per row, but maximum 3 colors per row. It would probably be a very quick project because it is a group C yarn and it is just a square, so you can probably do it pretty quickly even though it does have color work. It's a free pattern, drops pattern. It uses a yarn group C, which is a worsted weight yarn. It recommends drops Paris, circular needle size 4mm, and a crochet hook size 4mm for the crochet border. I guess this isn't only a knitting pattern, you also need to know how to crochet on the border, but if you don't know how to crochet, I'm sure that would be an easy thing to learn. The gauge is 19 stitches by 25 rows in stockinette. It's so adorable. Okay. Next up is another drops pattern. It is the forest flowers pattern. This is a colorwork pattern, so this is probably going to be a lot longer than the snowman pattern because it's a smaller yarn. It has also a lot more detail in the colorwork. It's a free pattern. It uses a group B yarn and drops bell yarn and also drops circular needles 3mm. The gauge is 23 stitches in width and 32 rows in height with stockinette stitch. Okay, next up is another Christmas pattern. It's called Poinsettias in the Snow. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And this again is a colorwork pattern, and it's probably going to take a comparable amount of time as the forest flowers one because it is the same size yarn. It's a free pattern. It's another drops pattern. It uses a group B or a DK weight yarn. It recommends drops muscat and circular needles size 3mm. The gauge is 23 stitches by 32 rows in stockinette, and I just think it's so festive and cute, and I think a lot of people would want it. But again, not your quickest knit. So, okay, next up, the fastest and probably most versatile pot holders on today's list is another one that I found on Etsy, and they look like they're actually very useful. The rest of them kind of seem a little bit more decorative because some of them are probably on the thinner side, but this one looks very thick. This one by far will be the quickest knit. It looks like it's just a garter stitch. I mean, what's faster than that? It is a $6.13 pattern, and the designer is MBL Designs. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm pretty sure it would be a bulky weight yarn, but it technically uses braided cotton cord in 5mm. In garter stitch, it is 9 stitches by 16 rows, so that'll tell you how quick it is. I mean, who wouldn't want a pot holder that looks like that? It's just so cute and classy. Now, our last, okay, this is a little bit silly. Our last category, and there's only one pattern that I found, is a wine bottle cover. But my idea behind this is you buy a bottle of wine and then you also make the cover, and so you dress up the wine a little bit. Then it's like a complete gift. Obviously, really only do this if you're over 21. It's called the Icy Toast. It's so cute. It looks like it's a sweater. It has like a little folded collar, and it is a rib stitch. It looks like a 1x1 rib, and then it is probably gonna take you a while, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. The polka dotted one in the back looks like it's way more simple, so that one might take you a little bit less time than the front one, but the front one is just so cute. It's a free pattern. It's a drops pattern, of course. It uses a yarn group A, which is a fingering weight yarn, so this definitely isn't gonna be your like very last minute gift because it's probably honestly going to take you a while to make. It fits a bottle of 0.75 liters, which is a standard wine bottle. The material it recommends for both covers is Drops Fable yarn and Drops Flora yarn. Double pointed needles size 3mm, and the gauge is 24 stitches by 32 rows in stockinette. So that is my kind of silly gift idea. But anyway, that is all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys found a last minute gift, whether it be a week, 2 weeks in advance, or 3 hours before you need to leave. I hope you found something that you liked and that you can use. If you want to see a crochet version of last minute Christmas gifts, let me know in the comments. I would love to make that for you. And good luck. Happy holidays. I hope you feel inspired to knit your loved ones gifts for Christmas. I'll see you guys next week.